will you call roll, please? Here.
Mr. Pierce?
Here.
Mr. Beard? Here. Mr. Bottom?
Here.
Mr. Ellis is going to be.
Would you like to start, Robin, or would you like to have the...
I think I can kick us off with the staff
Okay.
report, Mr. McNulty. Good evening, everybody. We are here for rezoning case ZON-24-08. The applicant is Epcon Communities on Bevelis Xenios Development, LLC, for property located at 4948 South Old State Road for two parcels having parcel numbers 318-120-01-006-003 and 318-120-01-006-004, totaling roughly 62.8 acres.
Yeah, I don't think the mic's on.
I know.
The
wireless
the
down
mics
here.
are working, but Eric, if you can do anything to boost the volume, that would be appreciated.
Green light's on.
The application is to amend the currently effective zoning development plan for Evans Farm Single Family Plan Residential District, having been previously approved under 5 previous zoning applications. This would create a new sub-area within Evans Farm with an updated site layout and development standards. This amendment would create a new sub-area within the single-family plan residential district in order to allow townhomes and duplexes to be mixed into one condominium community in combination with single-family ranch condominium dwellings. In terms of the surrounding area, to the north is a single-family plan residential district and the neighborhood of Avonlea. To the south, single-family plan residential district, the neighborhood of Bryn Mawr. To the east, South Old State Road. Across the street, single-family plan residential district, being both Evans Farm Reserve as well as Willow Springs North. Directly to the west is more Evans Farm in single-family plan residential. On the following page, you can see the overall site plan that the applicant is proposing. And then underneath is the comparison with the former layout on the left versus the new proposed layout on the right. We do have bigger versions of those, which we can keep on the screen later on. But for now, that is the version in the staff report. In terms of permitted uses, in the courtyards at Evans Farm sub-area, which would be the newly created sub-area that we are discussing this evening, condominiums would be added as a permitted use. Duplexes, attached zero-lot line residential uses, and 4-unit townhomes would be added as permitted uses in this sub-area. Currently, attached dwellings and townhomes are only permitted in the planned commercial area of Evans Farm and not necessarily the single-family planned residential area. Model homes and accessory structures, community center, clubhouse and recreation facilities, and community gardens would be added as permitted uses in this sub-area. Construction trailers and offices, as well as real estate trailers and offices, would also be added as permitted uses. In terms of units, a total of 161 residential units are proposed to be within this sub-area. The breakdown is as follows. 131 of those would be detached single-family condominium dwellings, 1 attached duplex building for a total of 2 units, and 7 attached 4-unit townhome buildings for a total of 28 units. In total, 1,046 units are permitted in the Evans Farm area at large. These 161 units would count towards that requirement, meaning that no new units are being added to Evans Farm under this proposal. So the 161 in this area would count towards the overall Evans Farm density. This would not add to that. In terms of open space and amenities, the applicant is proposing to have 23.34 acres of open space, which is approximately 37.16% of the site. A clubhouse, a community pool, and 2 tennis and pickleball courts are proposed as amenities. The development text does specify that these amenities would be exclusive to the residents of the Epcon sub-area. In terms of road access and connectivity, a proposed east-west public road, proposed to be called English Drive, would run through the site and line up with the existing access at Sunglow Drive on South Old State. English Drive would connect with a stub from the stub of Rock Drive from the south, from the Bryn Mawr subdivision, while another public road would run north and south along the western portion of the sub-area. The internal drives, which would service all the residential units, would be privately owned and maintained. And then 2 emergency access points would be created, one from Gables Crossing on the north side, as well as one directly off of South Old State. These access points, again, would be for emergency vehicle use only and not for use by the general public. The initial zoning submittal did show a T intersection extending from Gables Crossing into the private road, but updated plans have changed this to a cul-de-sac that would dead end at the private road. 4-foot sidewalks would service the interior portions of the site. A 5-foot sidewalk is proposed on the south side of English Drive, as well as the north-south public road, while a 10-foot path is proposed on the north side of English Drive. One of my staff comments was that some of the plans were inconsistent about the 10-foot path on English Drive. The applicant has clarified that that would be a 10-foot path and not a sidewalk. In terms of landscaping, a number of deciduous shade and street trees, small ornamental trees, and evergreen trees are proposed to be planted both as street trees and as part of visual buffers. We did have a note that typically in Orange Township, our operations department prefers it if the street trees are located outside of the right-of-way. The applicant has correctly pointed out that in Evans Farm, street trees are permitted to be within the public right-of-way, so we do find this acceptable. Landscaping buffers are proposed along the majority of the South Old State frontage, English Drive, the proposed north-south public road, and the area south of Gables Crossing, while additional landscaping is proposed to be planted around the primary entrance off of English Drive. And then in terms of fencing, crossbuck fencing as well as 4-rail horse fencing is proposed to be installed around most of the exterior of the sub-area. In terms of architectural features, this proposal would add a variety of building elevations as pre-approved in Evans Farm, subject to certain location conditions as determined by the Evans Farm town architect. Those specific locations are included in the submittal. According to the submittal, permitted exterior building materials in the sub-area would be lap siding, shakes, board and batten, and exterior trim with cedar texture. Because the building elevations would be permitted, should this amendment be approved, the requirement that garages be located in front of the front facade of all residential dwellings that applies in the rest of Evans Farm would not apply to this sub-area. So just so we're clear, in the rest of Evans Farm, the garage cannot be in front of the front line of the structure. This would not be the case in this sub-area. In addition, in terms of architectural differences from the rest of Evans Farm, single-hung windows would be permitted in this sub-area, as opposed to double-hung windows that are required in the rest of Evans Farm. For signage, a number of permanent and temporary signage is proposed with 2 entry columns as well as 4 piers, both with and without plaques, are proposed at an entry on South Old State Road. The applicant has included renderings of those areas. 1 yard arm sign and 10 piers with and without plaques are proposed at the sub-area entrance intersection on English Drive, and those are both included in the landscape plans. Various temporary signage is also proposed, including 2 community info signs, 1 model info sign, 1 brochure box, several feather flags, and a welcome center sign. The 2 community info signs are proposed to be located along South Old State, and then feather flags proposed to be located at the intersection of English Drive and South Old State, as well as English Drive near the sub-area entrance. In terms of our staff comments, already discussed, landscaping plans should be revised to remove tree plantings from the public right-of-way. In discussing with our operations department, Evans Farm, and also the applicant, I think we're willing to keep tree plantings within the public right-of-way, assuming that the applicant can provide us some confirmation that those trees would be maintained either by the Evans Farm Homeowners Association or the Condo Association. Orange Township Operations Department has requested and now received additional details regarding the emergency access from Gables Crossing. The consistency for the 10-foot path on the north side in comment 3 has been addressed by the applicant. While we do appreciate the amount of landscaping at the entrances, our operations department was slightly concerned about potential for sight lines to be blocked. I believe the applicant is aware of that concern and will revise accordingly. We did question if there was exterior lighting to be installed, particularly around the clubhouse pool and tennis and pickleball courts. Initially, there was no lighting plan included with the application. We did receive a lighting plan earlier today. The majority of the units are well screened via landscaping and fencing from the public right-of-way and also surrounding the developments. Although there is a retention pond proposed in the area, we do recommend that the applicant explore additional screening options, particularly in the southeast portion of the site, especially for units 64 and 65 on the plan, as these are closest to existing homes. And while we do understand the need to advertise the development, we do recommend that the applicant be limited to one community sign along South Old State Road instead of two, and then the two proposed feather flags along South Old State be removed from the plan. Feather flags would be permitted on the English Drive and more in the interior. In terms of review from other agencies, because this is an amendment, not a full rezoning request, this did not go before Delaware County Regional Planning Commission for a full vote and recommendation. However, the applicant has been working with various county agencies, including regional planning and the county engineer's office regarding this site plan. And the site plan has been reviewed and approved by the Orange Township Fire Department prior to this meeting. I will leave it there. I believe the applicant is here and has a presentation and is on hand for any further questions, as am I.
Hello, my name is Kelly Fankhauser with Epcon Communities.
Address, please.
500 Stonehenge Parkway, Dublin, Ohio, 43017.
Thank you.
Good evening, members of the commission and staff. Thank you for hearing our application this evening. And Robin, thank you for that thorough review and for sharing staff comments. We're glad to be in front of the township today. We have quite a history here. Epcon has been building active adult empty nester homes in Central Ohio for. Okay. Oh, okay. Thank you. Epcon has quite a history with the township. Epcon's been building active adult empty nester homes in Central Ohio for nearly 40 years. And for the past 24 years, we've been building our homes here in the township. I want to be considerate of everyone's time that's here today. We have a very full room. So I prepared a quick presentation that I believe will answer some questions right off the bat. Madam Chair, may I share the presentation at this time, followed by our response to staff comments?
Yes.
Eric, can you help me out with the presentation?
Is this the correct?
That is it. Thank you. For those who are less familiar with Epcon, our focus is on active adult empty nester home buyers. We build quality homes that are thoughtfully designed around aging in place, and we build communities with amenities that foster human connection and well-being. This courtyard slide, this is great, thank you. Over the past 12 years, we have become known for our private courtyard homes, which provides residents with private, low-maintenance outdoor living. We are proposing these same courtyard homes in addition to our townhomes at the courtyards at Evans Farm. Next slide, please. Our site plan for the courtyards at Evans Farms contains 161 homes, consisting of a mix of 131 detached homes, 28 townhomes, and 1 duplex. We have planned for a clubhouse, a swimming pool, 2 pickleball courts, and a walking path. The 28 townhomes and 1 duplex are shown in yellow. It's very difficult to see on this, I'm sorry. And the 131 detached homes are shown in, let's call it beige and rose up there. I would like to point out that the 8 homes to the south will be our side courtyard homes, where the outdoor space is situated on the side of the home, not the rear. And the space behind and around the homes will be designated open space. Next slide, please. A fair question to ask is why Epcon and why here? The 55-plus population is ever growing in Central Ohio, and the same can be said for the township. Currently, the township's 55 population is 21.5%, and it is expected to grow to 23.8% by 2029. In addition to creating more age-targeted housing for this growing population in the township, an Epcon community would add a housing component that would strengthen multi-generational living within Evans Farm. Next slide, please. Other key reasons why Epcon is a great fit for Evans Farm, and these are significant, are that our homes provide less traffic, we create less community impact, and we generate fewer school-age children in the district. Specific to traffic, senior housing generates about half the number of trips when compared to conventional single-family homes and fewer trips during peak hours. We create less impact and burden on the community and township by including private amenities and private streets that are maintained by the community. And an EPCON community has low school impact. EPCON homes mean net positive school tax revenue. I will go into more detail on school impact on the following slides. Next, please. On this slide, you will find the Olentangy local school data for EPCON homes within Orange Township. Over the past 24 years, we have built 6 communities consisting of 537 homes, of which there are only 16 school-age children enrolled in the school district. This low impact on schools is very common for EPCON. Based on the average of 0.029 students in the school district per EPCON home, we can estimate that 5 students will be generated by the courtyards at Evans Farm. Next slide, please. Our last slide here shows how few students that would be generated by the courtyards at Evans Farm create a surplus of tax revenue for schools. Based on our school-age children average in the district, we estimate a $1.35 million surplus in tax revenue to Olentangy Local School District, and the EPCON generated property taxes would fund 114 students in the district. To conclude, I'd like to say that we believe that an EPCON community in this sub-area of Evans Farm is a win for everyone. The courtyards at Evans Farm will not increase density of the existing Evans Farm zoning. We will generate less traffic and community impact when compared to conventional single-family homes, and we provide a net positive fiscal impact on the school district. We appreciate your consideration of our proposed minor modifications to the Evans Farm text for the courtyards at Evans Farm. I'd like to just make a couple quick introductions for the team that's with me tonight. Joining me is Jason Coffey, Vice President of Land with EPCON Communities, along with our team of consultants, Tyler Jackson with Kimley Horn as our civil engineer, Gary Smith with G2 Planning and Design for landscape design, and Tom Hart with Painters and Associates for legal counsel. Additionally, Mr. Dan Griffin is here in attendance and represents the Evans family and Evans Farm. And Rick Toll is here representing the master developer of Evans Farm. Madam Chair, is now an appropriate time to address staff comments.
I have no problems with that. What I'd like to do also, I'm sorry because I was caught in traffic and emailed ahead of time, is okay. First, I apologize for being late. Second, usually what I'd like to do, if no one has any objections, is have the applicant present their comments. So I think now would be an appropriate time to go ahead and address some of the comments that the planning and zoning staff has done. And then after that, I would like to open the floor to the public. So we can also get the public comment on, and that also might bring up more questions, so please
Understood.
remember that accordingly.
Yes, thank you. So again, thank you, Robin, for your comment, for providing staff comments. We're in agreement, but we're going to have the trees planted in the tree lawn in the public right away. We will confirm which association will handle the maintenance of those. The second comment that I have here, and that you had mentioned about the maintenance department wanting some more details for the emergency access to the Gables Crossing. Our engineer did reach out to them to provide more details and shared with them that knockdown bollards would be installed as well as sidewalks on both sides to align with the existing sidewalks on Gables Crossing. The third comment you had made, the sidewalks along English Drive. We did have some sidewalk width discrepancies in our plans. I apologize for that. They have been updated. Mr. Duffy received them this afternoon, and they are now consistent. There is a 10-foot wide multi-use walking path along the north part of English Drive, as well as running up our property line on South Old State. And one other note to share is on one of the plans, we did show that there was a 5-foot wide sidewalk along the private road on the south side of the community with the 8 homes. That should be 4. That has been updated. All of the private streets do have for the most part, have the 4-foot wide sidewalks, except for the 5-foot that you see that runs through and around the amenities and up through to the northern part of the community. The fourth comment that I have here, the concern about the landscaping at entrances, potentially blocking sightlines. We can certainly pare the landscaping back if that's a consensus here, but our engineer did take another look at it, and the landscaping and its location, we determined that the sightlines should be clear, but we'll obviously take another look at it. And it is also important to note that this intersection will be signalized in the future. The fifth comment I have here, lighting plan. We did, as Mr. Duffy shared, we did submit that this afternoon with the lighting plan to him, as we didn't have it included previously. I wanted to clarify about the lighting planned around our amenities. The clubhouse will have coach lights at each entry door, and the pool and the pickleball courts will not be lit. Staff commented on screening along units along the south, particularly near units 64 and 65. We will certainly incorporate additional screening in this area. And the seventh and last comment that I have, we understand that staff recommends that we install only 1 community sign along South Old State and remove 2 feather flags along South Old State as well, and we will make that change. Thank you for your time. We're here to listen and answer your questions. Thank you.
Robin, with respect to, does Delaware County Planning need to see this? Okay, because it was all part of the Evans Farms, and, okay. Has this been seen by everybody? I saw a fire with respect to Delaware County and water issues, and all of that is clear from here.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I have a couple questions real quick. So the number of units that are planned here will not change the overall, so it's a net 0 thing.
It's density neutral.
Yeah. The second question I have is, where's the next nearest 55-plus radius miles from where you're going to put this?
I don't know where there is a age-restricted 55 plus, we're age-targeted. It's not a restricted community.
Okay, yeah, because
Yeah.
you used the word. Uh-oh. Okay, across the street.
And that's age-restricted specifically? I don't know.
6 communities here in Orange Township.
No, I'm not concerned about the number.
It's either. Is it,
Well,
is that?
concerned about how close it is.
Yeah, I don't
Do we
think that's
need enough?
restricted.
They're all over.
Okay, so let,
Walking
All right,
distance.
hey, can we
Yeah.
just stop having side comments and let,
thank you.
Member
Mr.
Pierce, I
Westby's-
don't know. I
Okay,
can't
all right,
state
no worries, no
a
worries.
restricted community.
So you're not a 55-plus, because that was really displayed up there. So, and you used the word multi-generational. I just wanted
Correct.
to understand that.
As
So
in
it's not
Evans Farm,
it's
as
not
an-
age-restricted.
It is not age-restricted.
This particular
And this community, I wasn't saying is multi-generational. I was saying as Evans Farm as a whole, you have different housing mixes and uses in this community, and adding another age-targeted community in this district adds to that multi-generational component.
Okay, but I just want to make sure I have this clear
Yes.
understanding, because I feel like you're talking around me for a moment.
Okay,
40-year-old family
sure,
want to come there, move there.
Sure.
They can buy no problem.
correct.
Okay, that's what I want to make sure of. All right, and then my other question, because you noted prominently that you only anticipate 5 kids will come out of this.
That's
community.
correct. That's based on our historical data.
So you'll be
Yeah.
marketing toward,
Yeah.
I guess, the thing that's running to my mind for the moment is just, without respect to I recognize there's the zoning component. The thing that's running to my mind is the component of another community. I don't know how far the other one is. I think someone commented on that. And the idea of, or selling point of, hey, we're only gonna have 5 kids here, and so we're contributing to the schools, when in actuality, I'm looking for a much more robust community, so to speak, than just a, hey, we're only looking for a certain targeted age. But I got it, that's part of your project, that's what you're presenting. So
That's what we've done for 40 years.
Okay, that was my questions for right now, thank you.
Thank you.
I had a real quick question. So I think you commented that there will be a signal there in a later date.
Future, correct.
Okay, future date. So what is the lighting look at like right outside of the entrance onto South Old State?
I think that would be a better question for Rick Toll, maybe to answer, or Dan.
I think, excuse me, to everybody, I'm Dan Griffin with Evans Farm. Came here 11 years ago, and certainly I'll answer a lot of the questions and address some of those things.
Dan, I know we know your address, but can you please go ahead and give it?
56, 70,
Just to remind everybody, we just have this one microphone, so if you are speaking, please speak into the microphone.
I think this will help everybody anyway. Because a lot of the questions, obviously, because of Evans Farm being a comprehensive community, that's why I'm here, to make sure that everything we do there is planned and what we originally set out to do. So to answer, 5672 Evans Farm Drive. So go ahead and ask me again.
So the question was, at the entrance off of South Old State, this is a 2-point question. So that is a tight area, as we all know that drive that area.
Oh, yeah.
So
Yes.
my concern is, A, the congestion, and she addressed that by saying later on, you guys are looking to have a 4-way light there, is my
Yeah.
understanding.
Yeah, so here's
But then also the lighting going into the facility or into the subdivision. What is your plan there now? I haven't seen the lighting plan because it just came out today, but we only addressed what the lighting plan was around the common areas, but the entrance into the subdivision is the question.
Okay, first, let me talk about the entrance in. So the old plan, which I brought the old plan that we got zoned for and everything, we anticipated a entrance across from the reserve, that where we did there, and then the county came and built the pump station. And when we started to work on this entrance, the county said, no, you're going to bring it across from Sunglow, and we're gonna put a light there, right? That's what we can't control. So there's that. Lighting, I imagine, and you can answer Rick, because he's the site manager. And
5897 Pike Road. Yes, the light, also the,
yeah, the county requires
The light.
visibility.
Thank you. So the light is part of the future, working through the discussions with them now. Second is the opposing left turn lanes and the road widening, which will take place from Sunglow down beyond our entrance. And those are the 2 commitments that we're working with on the county now.
So the lighting will be, just like any traffic light, it'll have to be, the county will require the lighting to be in that intersection, just like we are out in the Lewis Center.
So the time frame for what the county proposes on their widening program, right? Of widening those lanes,
Well,
right?
there's 2 things there, and I'll be glad to answer this, sorry. 11 years.
That's why I'm trying.
No, 11, so there's 2 things. There is a master plan when we first came here that the county said, we're gonna widen 5 lanes from Orange Road all the way up, which they're still planning on doing. And we, the developer, Evans Farm, is responsible for, back then it was $24 million worth of our participation in that widening. And then the county, as we put traffic onto these roads, we are required to participate, and the county triggers those events. Everybody knows that this section coming out doesn't trigger the widening of South Old State, especially because of the product is less traffic than normal single-family housing. But the county has decided, Oh, I'm talking about the county. So all you gotta do is, if we can, this is what the county, so the county is saying, nope, we want to put a light there now, okay? So we said, okay, you're the county. You tell us what we have to have there, and that's what we're doing. So they are, and Rob Riley's in charge of that, they are considering when, and I imagine when we start getting the streets put in and when we actually start building houses, I imagine, and Rick's been talking with the county on that timing, I imagine the county will say, okay, we're gonna put a light in. And that'll be the county's, I mean, they're in charge of that. I can't control.
No, we understand that.
Okay, I just want everybody to know, it's not like I'm trying to not put one in or put one in. That's their decision.
But you guys have no, not just the light itself, so you don't have any plans to have overhead lights to illuminate the area a little more, or?
It'll, I mean, I don't think you guys do on the entrance from that standpoint, but I'm sure the county will dictate what lighting's around that traffic light for the entrance area. I don't-
There'll be boulevard lights as you come in South Old State. I can't say exactly where they start, but just like any other section we have.
Oh, inside our development, I think he's thinking about the intersection as a whole
Well,
being
I'm
a
thinking coming
dangerous or
into,
darker area.
so you don't have those blind spots when you're coming.
Right.
That's my fear.
The
Because
al-
if you don't have it illuminated,
Also, the county is requiring when they do the right and left-hand turn lanes and put the light in, when all that happens, of cutting down the streets a little for sight visibility. So I do know that. I'm just trying to make, those are what the county's telling us, so. While I'm standing up here, I'll go ahead and, I might as well finish up talking to some of the residents and answering some of the questions. So there's the signal. On trails and connectivity, we have a trail plan, and as we've always said at Evans Farm, we want connectivity. We want walking paths, we want trails, we have the 10-foot bike path. We also will have the 10-foot bike path on the west side of South Old State on our frontage. And I do know when the county connects all the way from Orange and starts the widening, that bike path will come along the frontage of all the way on Old State on that left-hand side. So that 10-foot bike trail will head all the way from where it is now down here near South Old State. And it'll be on that west-hand side all the way up. And I think it's their intention of carrying that all the way up to 36, 37 someday, so. But we are putting the 10-foot bike trail in it now. Hopefully it'll be connected again when the county widens. But they will require with that widening, that 10-foot bike trail. Sidewalks, we've talked about, connected street. I know one of the old, when we presented this 11 years ago and went through the zoning, there was always the connected to Bryn Mawr on the south side. That the county is telling us they want connected, which in my mind, I don't know, other than helping Bryn Mawr people get out when that light's on, because that will be a safer place for them to come out. If the residents don't want that connected, and just like in the northern part where we just have emergency access only, I think it's something that they could talk to the county about. Again, the county's driving that connection. And I know a concern is, we're gonna increase traffic there. Well, with this light there, we're not gonna go through Bryn Mawr. Or these people over here to the north aren't gonna go through Bryn Mawr to get out when the light's here. So I just wanna, that's my opinion. Okay. Well, I can do that. I'm a lawyer. And that's about it. I just wanted to address some of the things I saw on Facebook about connectivity and safety. you know, this is the first time I didn't even realize, I know we try to connect everybody to Evans Farm. I know a lot of people are fishing the lakes, and we've just put the trail around the lake, and, you know, it's a place where we want to welcome everybody, so. And I'll be glad to answer questions later and give everybody my number if they want to call on any of those particulars.
Well, actually, I have one question.
One more question for you.
Dan? Yeah, before, does anybody else here on the commission?
No.
Okay. All right, and it might have been covered again, I apologized, I was a little late. Looks like right now you're gonna have 161 units on this piece or parcel. It's not changing the overall Evans Farm density. So that means basically you're taking, and that was my question, is how many units were originally planned for this plot? I don't remember correctly, it looks like 91?
91.
91. So we're going from 91 units here to 161, okay? And then that means we'll have to put the other, do you know where those other units are gonna come out of? Or that hasn't been?
Well,
'cause-
just as we go west, we'll have less units, again.
Okay.
But we can only, we're allowed to under the zoning, we can only have so many units.
Yeah, my only, I guess, question was, because it looks like in the initial plan, there was more green space around the ravine or wherever that wetland is running through there, and now you're putting more units there. Where
what-
is that green space going back?
Well, here's what we did, here's
Okay.
what we did on that. So the old plan, and I brought them over there to show everybody, and we could, again. The old plan had about 18 or 19 lots. And remember, English Drive is a no-loaded street, so no driveways can come off of it. That was mandated by the county. Not sure why, but we'll go with that because that's what the county says. So what we tried to do with this plan and working well with EPCON is look at our neighbors to the south and say, look, we had 18 lots lined up against you on the south. What we want to do is take everything internal and keep it away from the back of those houses and create more green space. We can't bring driveways off that, and otherwise we would, if the county wanted us to bring an alley down that property line to the south to feed those 18 houses, and it just wasn't fair for anyone, and it made no sense to us. So that's one of the things we did that we felt like made sense for everybody as far as the green space. So we created more green space to buffer the neighborhood and then put the houses on the inside.
Okay.
How did the green space change from
We
total acreage?
What we did, we actually, it's sort of funny. The more and more as we work through this plan, as we do different phases, the green space, though we agreed to do 35% green space throughout the whole development, we're up to now, including with this plan, 37, 38%, including as we're working through Berlin Township and doing some of theirs. So what we're finding is what we always said, the lots and the configuration of having people walkability and keeping the houses clustered is creating more green space. Density, we know we can't change. So,
All right, does the commission have any more questions for the applicant? No, that's a good question. Okay, so what I would like to do now is open the floor to public comment with the understanding that the applicant might want to come back and address some of those comments, or Robin, if you could also be available to address some of the comments. Please remember, members of the public, that we're all neighbors here, so try to be cordial about that. Please state your name and address, and there's a lot of people here, so if you could limit it to 3-5 minutes.
Yep.
And if you're agreeing with one of your neighbors, you don't have to come up and say, the whole another speech. You can just come up and say, I agree, or, try not to repeat comments, because we want to get as many people here as possible to speak without being here until midnight. So, does that work? All right, so name, address, and
Yeah. Thank you
your
for saying.
question.
My name is Sarah Albert. I live at 2847 Pebble Drive, Lewis Center. First thing I'd like to cite is in the zoning standards 10.07 density. Maximum density shall be 2 dwelling units per gross acre. 2. Current plan that they've submitted, you have standard lots, 118, 54 by 120, represents 1/6 of an acre. Providence lots, 13, 67 by 120, 1/6 of an acre. Townhomes, 4 units, 126 by 120, which is 0.35, but then you divide it by 4 units, represents 1/12 of an acre. The 2-unit townhome, again, 1/12 of an acre. You talk about density, it's easy to spread this around all of Evans Farm, but we're talking about these 68 acres or 63 acres. The density is significant. I'll make one correction, there are 91 units, it's 54 units was the original half-acre lots. Now we're at 161. The community does not want this. Thank you.
Thank you. Jeffrey Caterino, 5299 Meadowbend Drive. I've been a Bryn Mawr resident for the past 20 years since I moved to Ohio, lived there with my wife and family. I agree with what Mr. Elbert said, that the community does not want this. Dan, Mr. Griffin, okay, came to us several years ago with the Evans Farm development plans, and I don't know if any of the members of the Zoning Commission were on those meetings and that initial approval. One of the biggest selling points, although he didn't quite convince me, and I thought something like this might happen, but one of the biggest selling points was the idea that Evans Farm, where it abutted the neighboring communities, would have matching lot sizes. And those lots would get smaller as they went in. That's what they initially proposed, was it the 52 in this area? And that's what they're now changing. So is it true then, or is it true now that this was important? If you look at, and unfortunately, we only got notice of this meeting yesterday, at least some of us. So despite being at work, I tried to look through the comprehensive plan and the zoning plan as well. And if you look through it, one of the things it talks about is general welfare of the township in the immediate vicinity. You have to meet that. This does not meet the welfare of the immediate vicinity of the Bryn Mawr subdivision for the zoning change. I'm left to wonder after hearing the presentation, although overall Evans Farm, the density doesn't change, put this density inside where it was meant to be originally and where it was approved originally. That's what the people who buy in Evans Farm want. That's what the people who have chosen to live there want. They want the increased density. Those of us who bought in Bryn Mawr 20 years ago under the zoning code, and I know these things change over time, we wanted half-acre lots. We wanted less density. We wanted to be in a suburban environment. Unfortunately, I don't think we've had the time to prepare or understand some of the finances that were shown, and it may well be true, assuming that families don't try to move in here to get into our school district. At the same time, it's going to depress property values in the adjacent neighborhood, not the general welfare of the immediate vicinity. So you're going to lose some tax revenue there. How that comes out, I don't know. I actually, it sounds like from the discussion as well that they are potentially creating a very unacceptable and dangerous intersection. And I know it's up to the county. I think putting this intersection there before the road is widened is dangerous to our families, to my kid who drives to school. You try to get to Arrowhead Elementary from Bryn Mawr, you sit in traffic for 30 minutes right now. Whether there's a light at this intersection or not, until this road is widened, additional density off this road is going to be a problem. If anybody, regardless of the housing. So I would urge that be taken into consideration. This is the first time I heard of pickleball. I don't know if we have any pickleball players. The incessant ping, 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 ping next to, what's that?
She had raised her hand.
Yeah, all right, we got one.
One knows that what it's like.
She's for the pickleball courts. We have one person for the pickleball courts next to single-family homes It sounds like that there's no lights. There's no guarantee these things don't change, of course. I've seen that happen, but is significantly concerning. I'll remind the committee that, and I know that part of this may have to do with opening that connector. The Bryn Mawr subdivision may be the only, I don't know how many don't have sidewalks. Our kids are walking and playing in the street. Our young neighborhood continues to roll carriages through the street because we don't have sidewalks. So any increase in traffic is a problem. If I understood, this may not right away connect to Evans Farm. So, well, if you're going to Polaris, you're going to go out the light. If you're going to Evans Farm, you're going to cut through our neighborhood. So the traffic coming through the neighborhood is a problem as well. So in short, I think that this is, does not meet the test called for changing the zoning. I think it's a contradiction, it's a direct contradiction to what Evans Farm said was really important when they initially came to us and came to this township and said, you know, what we want to do, and that blending into the neighborhoods is what's most important. This completely contradicts that. I think it's going to change the nature of this residential corridor. More condos on Old State, which is generally single-family homes. It's going to change that nature. It's going to increase, you know, a potentially dangerous intersection. And I'm sure EPCON will do well. I'm sure that Bryn Mawr will not. And so I'd ask you to consider that for those of us who've been members, residents of this township for 20 years. Thank you.
Just real quick, just a question for clarification. The old layout up there is what was approved. Okay, so that appears to be, if I'm counting each one of the lots, appears to be more than 54 that I think was quoted earlier. Just want everyone to recognize what was previously approved is there on the
original,
on the thing.
they ponied in this additional portion. When it was first presented to us, it was 54 lots.
You
Now
mean
they
many
ponied
years
those
ago?
lines in, and they've added some property to expand it to get to 91.
I just want to make sure. You mean many years ago before it was
When-
approved?
When they submitted and they said, hey, this is what it's going to be, go to zoning, half-acre lots, half-acre lot. That's what we agreed to. We're far from a half-acre lot. We're at a sixth, a 12th. Now, they can say we've got 91, but I think if you went back and looked at when they originally presented this, the bait and switch is put in place now. They ponied in additional property to make it. They've added property, but that one was in a different section when they came to us and said, oh, because otherwise you'd had this fight 10 years ago, 11 years ago.
Yeah.
Again, because they have other areas that aren't selling, it's easy to pony it up here. Again, if it's such a great property, put it up against the railroad tracks. It won't sell. They'll sell it here. It hurts us. It makes them money because his property's failing and they're selling units. And when they build those units, guess what? They move on. They're not saying that they're restricted for retirement. They're going to sell to whoever they can because that's what they do. They sell the units. So you don't know about the schools. It's easy to say that. A lot of the comments were, oh, the community. They talk about Evans Farm as a whole. We're talking about the 63 acres, and that would change the narrative drastically.
Okay. Just your name again for good measure.
My name is Cyril Elbert.
Okay. Yeah, and I just want to make sure I'm. But I just want to make sure that, again, for clarification, what is currently approved before this submission is what we see as old layout, which appears to be more than 54. That's all I'm saying. Whenever it was done, I don't know about that, but what's there is what has been approved for them to do. Yeah. Maybe half-acre lots, I don't know, but it's more than 54. That's all I'm saying. Okay, go ahead.
My name is Mike Navarro. I live at 2937 Pebble Drive. When the presentation was made and they talked about the property south, Old State, that was closest, that's me. That's me and my wife, okay, and our family. I agree with everything you said previously. I want to bring up a concern that maybe has not been discussed before. When we built our home 22 years ago through MI Showcase Homes, if you look at the topography of the area, it's very much a low-lying swill coming from the neighbors where, like Mr. Albert who just spoke, swooping down, and they built a big drainage ditch And for 2.5 years, we had to fight the builders about a swampy area. We could not use our property in our backyard as intended because it was a swampy area. Since that time, either through the building at the Meadows or something's going on with Evans Farm, some things have shifted, and there's been starting to have some drainage issues in the corner of my neighbor, lot 2203, and the other one directly on both sides of us. We're having some wetness come already. So I'm very concerned about a retention pond coming down there if the proposal goes through, and more drainage issues at our expense for what's happening through no fault of our own. So that's my concern about the new area if this plan goes through, as that not only the other arguments that people are making currently, I'm very much concerned about a physical drainage, wet, swampy area coming into our property in that area. Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Where's the SWAT? The
Yeah.
SWAT. Is the SWAT in here?
What?
SWAT, stormwater.
Stormwater?
pollution
I don't,
Control.
yeah.
We don't
I
have
don't,
this.
I don't, it hasn't been engineered yet, generally. It's not final engineered yet.
What's that?
This would be produced with the engineering plans,
Okay. Yeah, so
be in
that's,
compliance with Delaware County and their.
Okay.
yeah, so generally, yeah, final engineering.
Yeah, so I can't address his, yeah.
If you want to address, go ahead. That final engineering hasn't occurred yet. Usually there will be a stormwater prevention plan that will make sure that the neighboring areas drain properly the way they're supposed to. So they're not going to have any additional drainage. If anything, it should improve the drainage in the area with a stormwater prevention plan.
Should.
Make sure everyone can hear me. Kylie Baylor. I am at 2800 Pebble Drive. I'm also a Bryn Mawr. I've been there for 12 years now. So I was around when Evans Farm was coming about. And it sounded like something very exciting. I'm familiar with what you did in Louisville in that same type of style. So this was not something that I anticipated that I would be here today. When this kind of proposal started, it was the idea of this front porch community with some density, some mixed use. It was going to create this community center, right? Garages in the back, very residential feeling. When I saw the plans, I saw nothing but garages, right? Like the entire front of these things are, at least some of them, I don't know which ones at the townhomes or whatever, it's pretty much garage and a door, right? Which I've seen in plenty of communities around Columbus, and I don't have a high opinion of them. That said, I'm also concerned about the same things that were said earlier relating to that density question. So my property, if you look at that access road to the south, that's my house right there, right? So people are going to drive through there one way or the other, and they're going to pass by my home. All of my neighbors who are here tonight, they're kids in the neighborhood. We have our Halloween. It's just a very walkable residential. People are out running with their strollers or whatever the circumstances may be. And that changes dramatically when you have folks who need to get from point A to point B, and the closest way to do that for at least several years until other access ways are created will be right in front of my house. So I'm very much opposed to this approach. When this thing was started, it was half-acre lots, similar style, similar size. I even considered, hey, maybe, you know what, I'll have my mom come, we'll get her a place. That was the vibe that I felt. Now, it goes from a very positive experience for me to a very negative. I'm also concerned with a lot of families moving in who don't necessarily have an interest in kids. That means not passing levies, right? That's 100 and some homes, 67 years old or whatever. I don't have kids. Olentangy is known as a high-tax district. Why? Because we have the best schools. But if you're moving people here that don't have children or don't have a vested interest in that approach, they're not going to pass those levies. So all of a sudden, we're changing the mix of the neighborhood from being family-centric to I just care about my property and my quiet, right? So that to me feels wrong. It feels as if we're trying to move money, and I appreciate, you know, I've retired and I made my money, so I get that profit motive. But at the same token, not at the expense of the people who are already here, who've invested substantially in our properties. I guess the average investment post-purchase around our neighborhood is catering around $50,000 to $100,000 in investment made to stay and live and raise our families here. That changes dramatically if we start to see a different element that is what we have expected, and that is people who might rent, which hasn't been mentioned before. People who, you can't sell the homes. What's the plan? I can't sell this townhome duplex with the nothing but garage. What exactly do? I rent that, right? So now all of a sudden, we've got a different conversation versus neighbors who are homeowners and taxpayers to residents who are going to be here for 2 years, 3 years, maybe 1 year. So I'm very much concerned about that, along with the aspect of it just doesn't continue how the neighborhood feels, right? It's a different, you'd have to, for those of you that don't live in the neighborhood, it has a feeling to it, and that feeling is based upon community, which we already have. This is not that same community, right? And so for me, I urge the commission here to look at this and decline. There are other places that they can build this. Last time I checked, I think there's another 200 acres and other areas that aren't directly adjacent to a residential community that's already established. And so those are opportunities within the Evans Farm proper where this can be done, where you won't have 100 people sitting in here basically saying this is a bad idea. So I think there's another opportunity for the group to look at. Maybe do it somewhere else. We won't be here complaining about it. We wish you the best, just not at this particular location. So again, I urge the commission to decline this particular zoning change. Thank you.
Good evening. My name's Tom Polakowski. I live at 5311 Sandy Drive in Bryn Mawr. So without being repetitive, just to second and provide some information associated with our initial meetings with the team at Evans Farm. They were very open to us, encouraged, and came to our homeowners association, wanted to be part of the community. So I have evidence with me, which is the information that was shared. I understand that things change over time, but what's on the paper is much closer to 50 units than 90. And let me just read a brief paragraph from our interaction. Again, nothing but support for the community as was asked for by the developers. So this is to our homeowners association president at the time in preparation for a meeting. Joe, I hope all is well with you. We've been very busy preparing our response to our initial zoning commission meeting with Orange Township. We submitted our revised response last Friday, and our second meeting with them is Tuesday, August 4th of 2015. On August 3rd at 7 p.m., we have reserved the Grace Point meeting room to share our revisions made to the plan with our neighboring homeowners associations with whom we had previously met. It would be good to see you and share updates with you. We'd enjoy having you and your homeowners association meeting with us on the 3rd, and you'd certainly be welcome to attend the Orange Township meeting on August 4th, 2015, and support us in our presentation. In respect to the plans, we haven't made too much of a change in our plan near Bryn Mawr from our original submittal. We reduced our plan by a couple of lots and increased our open space by an additional 15 acres due to the survey changing a stream location and discovering a few additional wet areas on the property. The sizes and values of the homes on the eastern side of the community haven't been reduced at all. We expect that these values will be increased as we move forward. And I have copies for the commission.
Can you enter one in evidence? Sure. Okay. Yeah, I would just want to make sure there's a copy as part of the record. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Douglas King, 3145 Arctic Avenue. That's in the Willow Springs North subdivision. When someone in the Facebook group posted notice of this meeting and the letter went up on the website, and looked at the plans and the previous zoning applications for this Evans Farm development. A lot of the questions that I had have been answered. The one that hasn't been answered is English Drive, as it's currently proposed, is only 32.5 feet wide. That will eventually connect up to Pyatt Road at a planned commercial development area, which will eventually also tie into Shanahan Road, which if people will do, they got a shorter way to go. They're going to use English Way, Pyatt to get over to Shanahan to get to the elementary schools and to the middle school. So I don't think 32.5 feet width on that road is sufficient to handle the future traffic that's going to be on there, especially when you got school buses going up and down. Is a big issue. When our children were at Arrowhead, the biggest complaint the teacher had, the principal had there was Hollenbach Road wasn't wide enough, barely for 2 school buses. And so I think the plan needs to be reviewed to make sure that 32.5 feet width is going to be sufficient for anticipated traffic, and with the plan as it's currently set up with no driveways, is there street parking going to be allowed? If somebody has a gathering, where are their guests going to park? Will they be on the street? If there's no driveways there, are you going to make them walk a long distance? Thank you.
Hello, my name is April Green. I'm a resident at 2966 Pebble Drive. And it looked like this community is not a 55-plus community. And I know that the EPCON communities, they had presented data today, but it looked like that data was on a 55-plus community, so I worry about the validity of that data. I also want to mention that Dan earlier from Evans Farm mentioned that Evans Farm is doing what they planned and set out to do, but that is inaccurate. This is a significant amount more units, and we do not have sidewalks. And earlier, the EPCON communities were talking extensively about their sidewalks, and I wonder why it's so important for them to have sidewalks when we do not. And I do have screenshots of the initial plans with 54 units, if you would like me to share that with you. Thank you.
No, that's okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, can we have the next?
Go
ahead.
My name is Alice Albert. My address is 2847 Pebble Drive. I have lived in Bryn Mawr for 19 years, and I am the original homeowner. When the Evans Farm development began over 10 years ago, the original developers, Dan, submitted their plan to the Bryn Mawr homeowners. They talked about integrity and consistency of their plan in conjunction with the Bryn Mawr neighborhood. We were assured that they would be single-family homes with lots that touched our neighborhood, being the same size, almost a half acre, as ours. The plan called for approximately 50 single-family homes. We questioned this time and time again, and we were assured that this was the plan. At the time, we did not fight Evans Farm. We did not attend a zoning meeting because the integrity and consistency that we were promised. Fast forward 10 plus years, and apparently integrity and consistency have went out the window. Evans Farm has pulled a bait and switch. Now we are looking at over 161 units, which includes a mix of townhomes and duplexes. One of two entrances into this proposed subdivision obviously leads into Bryn Mawr. I'm not sure if you know, you haven't heard it before, we do not have sidewalks. Surprise! The increased amount of traffic flowing from 161 units, I don't care what you say, you can't get out of your neighborhood, you can't get down Old State, what are you going to do? You're going to flow through Bryn Mawr over to Lewis Center Road to go to Standardized Brewery, wherever it is, the traffic will flow through our neighborhood. It'll be unimaginable, and I can't imagine the safety of our residents. Our neighborhood is tight-knit. You can see here tonight. I am the original homeowner, as I mentioned, and most of my neighbors have lived here as long as I have, if not longer. We stick together. We work together. We do not want this. We have integrity and we have consistency. We do not want this rezoning to happen, and I urge you to vote no.
Pickleball.
Indoor. Rebecca Sexton, 4840 Gables Crossing in Lewis Center. I actually live in Avonlea, so I thought I'd make a quick pop over. We've had Dan in our home when they first originally came to our community about developing Evans Farm. I just have a question about, I know there are some wetlands in the area, and I don't think any of that has been addressed on that. It's kind of closer to our neighborhood, more on the north side of that. It looks like since they've added additional houses and more density, what is happening to, I know at one point, they were already moving some from around us initially, which I thought, but they were trying to work with us, like some of it's gonna be left, we're gonna relocate it. There was, if you have the original plan, there was, where you can see it looks like they have a circle there now of a street. They are connecting to us, but in the original plan, there was much more green space, and they were at least trying to keep some of that protected wetland area. So I'm wondering if you can maybe help with where that has gone.
I'll be glad. I'm just looking at the map up there. Is that the left?
So where the emergency access is,
Yeah.
all around, this looks like,
It looks like a cul-de-sac, which it is.
yeah,
And,
but there's
and,
actually, like, I think in the original plan, it's more of a, you know,
there was a T, we left a T there, and then the county, and again, Rick or Kelly, when you met with the county, what did they want to do with the?
It is not decided at this point.
Well,
There was a conversation about a cul-de-sac.
all of this was wetland, and you had
Yeah.
as they did originally, have as a future water feature.
Yeah.
And you can see this originally where all these lower row condos or whatever they are below the cul-de-sac is are now houses instead of water.
So this is that.
Yeah,
This
this
is
is
that
that
wetland
area.
area, right?
Yeah, and now
And so
it's
we put a
gone.
detention pond up in the left, no, see that hatched area? That's where there's,
Well, it's
that's that.
significantly reduced. I would say that the condos to the north and right near that road, that's part of the wetland. I mean, that area over there is all wetland.
We're not impacting wetlands.
The wetlands,
Okay.
have been, they have been done by the EPA. Everything's been licensed, everything's been mitigated, it will be. And any place that we show on this plan now is where the wetlands sit, we don't serve.
So some of them are still being moved.
I don't know. Yeah, sure, you can, please, we could.
Can you?
Tyler Jackson, 7965 North High Street. I am with Kimley Horn, the civil engineer on the project. So all of the streams and wetlands on the site have been delineated and approved through the Army Corps of Engineers and the Ohio EPA. What you were seeing prior was a planned detention pond that when they finalized the wetland delineation, we had to adjust the location to not impact the existing wetlands. So that detention pond, instead of being longer, was made more squarish, I guess. It's down there in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen. And we are preserving the stream that comes from your subdivision by the pump station up to the top right of the screen with our development. We are protecting from any disturbances to that stream in that area. So the wetlands shown on the screen are what is delineated and approved with the Army Corps and the EPA.
And that is, generally, it's the county and the Corps and the state that have to work together to mitigate the runoff in the wetlands. That is something that's not, the township has no real control over. It's the level above us.
So I guess my question is, would you say that the wetland area is the same size? They're not, are we gonna have the same amount of acreage, I guess, of wetlands in that area that are?
Do you have the old plan, Dan, that you were pointing to?
Yeah, this is the preliminary. This is the old plan.
So, but the old plan, my understanding is, and Robin or others can correct me if I'm wrong, the old plan was done before the Corps came in and designated and outlined or the state EPA outlined the areas that had to remain as wetlands and various restricted areas like that. So the initial plan was before the EPA and the Corps got involved in the project because it was initial engineering. Then, as they developed Evans Farm, they had to go and get, I'm assuming, permits from the Corps to develop it, and therefore, it's why it's changed slightly, but I'm not a civil engineer, so.
For the record, I'm just confirming with the question, make sure we're talking about the same thing.
Okay.
Okay, so to clarify for everyone else, she's on the screen, there's the little number 10 on the corner lot of the Avonlea subdivision. Just outside the screen, there is an additional wetland that was delineated. It is an isolated wetland, so it is under the jurisdiction of the Ohio EPA. We are not impacting very much of that wetland with our development. That would be if any of the future development it's further north of our development. It'd be in the grade back area behind Avonlea.
Not very much, but it is.
I believe my preliminary is like 0.05 acres is being impacted. And that impact would be for the public road there, just so you know.
I guess it just seems like moving it, like, I don't know how, I mean, I'm not, familiar with that, but it just seems like it would do something with the wildlife and the birds that we see back there, putting more density in there again, so I would say I'm against the more dense.
Yeah, like I said, generally that is the Army Corps and the state EPA. They would have to pull permits, so it's generally something that the township does not regulate. Much like, we talked about Old State and traffic lights, that's generally not something that we regulate. It's, the county, or the higher jurisdiction than us.
Everybody, please remember to speak up so that we can hear back here, we can hear the comments.
Okay, I'm sorry, my voice is a little scratchy, so. All right, do we have any other comments from the public?
My name is Nicole Hogue, and I live at 3133 Arctic. We weren't aware of the meeting. We heard from some residents at Bryn Mawr in regards to this, but apparently it is going to be connected to our neighborhood, Sunglow. And I don't know if any of you guys have driven down South Old State during rush hour. You can't even get out of our neighborhood. And it takes about 10 minutes probably to get to Hollenbach and Old State, let alone, sometimes I've even seen the traffic back up to Lewis Center Road from Hollenbach. So, I don't know the time frame of the light going in. Is there gonna be turn lanes? What's the time frame of the light being?
I always hate, I'm sorry, I always hate quoting the county, but, and Rick, you and everybody else have talked to the county more and trying to figure out what, you have an idea for everybody.
I just reiterate this, we're talking to them right now, and the requirement of the light is mandated, the requirement of the opposing turn lanes is mandated, and so there are trigger warrants in our Evans Farm subdivision, so
Right.
at that point, we turn on the light. It's been indicated by the county they want this light on sooner than later.
Right.
That's where we stand right now, and we're still working through that process with them.
Right, yeah, something has to be done.
Light could be as soon as, it can be turned on day one when the road opens, or the county can put a hood over it and keep it turned off for however long until they feel, until it's warranted, the county will be warranted to open the light. So, okay, no, it's okay. So what I'm trying to say is, we're actively pursuing this and involved, we just don't, we don't make it call.
So widening of the road, that's a long time project, isn't it?
Not in this case, because it's two, I'm sorry, we're talking about two different things.
Okay.
The road widening that we would be doing is proposing left turn lanes, so left into south into English and left into Sunbrook. And that, so far, I don't know the lengths and the paper, back out to a regular two-lane road. Again, the county has a plan for a three-lane road widening. That is triggered by county standards, not our standards, so I couldn't even begin to tell you what their thought process is on when they choose to go for a two-position issue.
So it could be years we're talking. So we're gonna have this new community, we're not gonna have the roads for a couple of years. That could happen?
Right.
I think that every time the developer goes to put a subdivision in, there's an impact. The county is the one that actually decides which roads the county is wide first or next. So this conversation continues, but also continues, even if we didn't go in, let's just assume we're not here from it. You're all still very, very upset about the fact that that road is all red.
Yes, yes, absolutely. We can't even get out of our neighborhoods. We've got teen drivers.
161 units or whatever this is with a non-through street has an impact, but the impact is already there right now. So whether the county steps up, wants to move it up, or wants to make this road improvement sooner than later, that is a decision for them, right?
But how can they widen our section and not widen from, Orange Road all the way?
County Commissioner.
I wish I could answer, but I would say,
Yeah.
I would say this, I'd love to have this group in the room with me. With the county. We'll be able to advise them, we can say, guys,
So I live on Rock Drive on the dead end where the road's gonna go. So. Can you come up and speak at the microphone? Can you come up and speak at the microphone so people can hear? As opposed to having all these little side conversations, we really need to have it as part of the record so everyone can hear what's going on.
I am at 5170 Rock Drive, so I'm on the dead end where they're going to build the road. So you're telling me we're not going to have this, the South Old State's not going to be widened. So I have a feeling that people from that community are going to go right by my house to get to Evans Farm, to get to Lewis Center Road, to go shopping at Kroger, or wherever. It's all going to come right by my house because Old State is already so congested. That's going to be another way for people to come through, and that's going to be an easy way for them to get out of their neighborhood.
And ma'am, state.
My name is Maggie Mahalski, and the whole reason we purchased our house, because we didn't have neighbors on the side. We knew it was going to happen. We just didn't think we were going to have this many neighbors and this much traffic. Thank you.
Excuse me, can I address a few of the comments just so I can, and again, we want to work with everybody and try to keep this. So the original plan had 18 lots that were abutting, and I do know that we've always, including in other areas, we match the size of lots that are abutting the property next to us. That doesn't mean we match that size of lot throughout Evans Farm, but we wanted to make sure that anything that backed up and actually touched the property next to them was the same size. We did that over across the reserve, but anyway, that's what we do. So I did make that statement, which is why when we first looked at this plan and said, okay, there's 18 lots abutting there, and then the county said, okay, we don't want any driveways coming off. Our thought was, okay, I like taking everything internal and leaving that green space and not abutting property owners to the north side of Bryn Mawr where we're talking about. So that was just something we tried to do, whether right or wrong or whether it's acknowledged. I understand the statement, so I want to acknowledge that, and that was one of the things that when we went back to EPCON and said, look, we don't want to abut the neighborhood. In fact, we'd rather have green space there to not infringe as much on them. Our other option would be, again, to take that south side of English and put 18 lots, and then we'd have to do an alley behind them that came along the fence because the county won't let us bring a driveway in, and there's too much concrete then. So it doesn't accomplish what I think we all are worried about. That's just, there was a comment about increase or decreasing property values. These units, these properties for sale are going to be in the range of $650 all the way up to $900. Is that correct?
Listen, that's what our houses go for. And we've got a half an acre and typically 3,000 square feet or more.
Yeah. And these, and you.
Just, can we?
No, I know, I agree. So,
Hey,
so anyway,
can we try to
I'm
be
addressing-
civil here?
I'm addressing in the property values of, and especially with today's cost. These houses are our neighbors' houses are gonna be worth a lot more all of a sudden because the square footage you're getting today. So,
Hey, can we please
okay,
just
I'll
have
let
one
them
person
answer the building
talk
side.
at a
I just want to
time?
talk about the master development side, and then I'll let you guys.
Yeah, so can we have Dan talk and give his
It's just on Evans Farm as
talking
a whole.
points, and then if there's other questions, we can move on. But right now, everybody's talking on top of one another, so it's difficult to hear what our neighbors and colleagues are saying.
Somebody made a comment about 32-foot wide streets not being enough, and that's what the county requires us to put on English Drive, correct? And so and the streets internal, they're, yeah. Okay, so that's what so I just wanted to note that we do need an Evans Farm, and because of this and because of the less, and I'm not sure, less kids, no kids, some people want kids, people don't want kids. I'm not gonna comment on that. I do know that just like the Cove, that we you know, and that is a rental community on the other side of the tracks over on North Road. We see a general grouping that's older that doesn't have kids, and that's why the schools have supported us. EPCON, I know this is what we were focused on, of an adult community. Again, I just wanted to make that statement. Drainage, we have done nothing over there right now to cause anybody's drainage to change, but I do know that stormwater management, we are regulated and watched heavily, so we won't be building something that sheds water on our neighbors. You're not allowed to. You can't get permits for that, nor would we design anything that even did that. So I just, again, access road, I would ask everybody that if, on this access road connecting to Bryn Mawr, we should contact the county. And if you don't want it, and you can help us, then we'd love not to connect. We do want to bring a trail or a sidewalk there, so your kids can walk over and be part of this trail system that's all going to connect, just like we do where the lake is. I know there's some people that come back to the lake, which is great, and now we've put a trail around the lake, but if we can alleviate that with your help with the county, and they don't connect there, then I'd be more than happy to support that as the developer. And I don't think the builder that we've chosen and think highly of, I don't think they'd have a problem with not connecting either. Now, and I do want to mention this is a 5-year build out. So we all say, oh, this traffic's going to cause it. We're talking a year of getting things ready and developing, a year of building 30 homes. So if you're talking 5-year build out, you're not going to have a lot of traffic racing through here before this light's up. This light's there. And anyway, that's that part. I was just trying to, we do want connectivity. I heard some people say sidewalks, and then somebody said no sidewalks. I want to make sure that we will always connect everybody, just like we did Bryn Mawr and the other area behind the community, unless nobody wants to be connected, which I don't think so. And then I made a note about, again, the 18 lots that abut. I don't want those lots abutting you guys. I think this is a better plan. So.
We approved the abutting lots with the half-acre plot, right?
Right.
Well, we agreed to this.
Look, can we please just, hey, let's be civil, questions
I
and
just wanted to make
answers.
a comment. Nicole Hogue, 3133 Arctic in Willow Springs North. We also do not have sidewalks. So if anybody's going to be cutting through with the traffic is backed up, they'll come in the south side entrance and come around to the north entrance and get into their neighborhood as well, or anybody trying to get down Old State Road, just because everyone tries to cut through our neighborhood and to get around. So that's all I have.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Anyone with any viewpoint?
A couple comments are made. I'd just like to maybe clarify on the gentleman's statements.
State your
First,
name again.
my name is Cyril Albert, 2847 Pebble Drive. He talks about the 18 lots abutment that he's, didn't want to put alleys in. There's a simple cure to that. Leave them half-acre lots. Second thing is, the abutment, he's talking about the green space. The green space is now a road. I don't believe roads are qualified as green space. Now, there's probably a little bit of green space on the other side, but it's a road they're doing, and they put the road there because why? Because they made them move, this county made them move the road. So they're not doing these things for us or for the community, which you represent us as the community. It's good, oh, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that. The 18 lots, if they were so concerned about these 18 lots, why did they put the condo units jammed up against my neighbor's property, right? Oh, we want green space. We'll leave that all green space then in this master plan. It all sounds good, it's good fodder to say, but it's not reality. Thank you.
All right, go ahead, speak. State your
April
name,
Everest,
address, and
5245
I
Meadow
wanna
Bend
sort of
Drive.
conclude this shortly, so if you have new comments to add to the conversation, new ideas,
April.
new thoughts,
Everest,
please, we can
like the
address
mountain.
them. But right now, we've been repeating the same issues over and over again, so we're trying
So-
to move this forward.
So I agree with everything that all these people said, except for you guys. And the issue is, you seem super shocked that we're upset. You cannot be dishonest with people and what? I don't understand that look. I'm looking at all of you. I'm looking at all of you because I'm talking to you.
Hey, talk to us. You're telling us your comments.
People cannot be dishonest with people about things that affect their families and expect us to come in here and be super happy about it, okay? What I would ask you guys is just think about how you would feel if you lived in our neighborhood, okay? That's all.
Do we have any new material to add to this conversation?
I'll be real quick. Brad Bryce, 2871 Prairie Drive. I moved to this area. I'm a Michigan guy. So I want to go through some Michigan State math with you a little bit. I can't figure out how the numbers add up. But anyways, I moved to the neighborhood because I had a big lot that my kids, 3 boys, can play sports in. If you look in our backyard, on any given day, there's either a football game, a soccer game, or a baseball game going on, okay? That's why I live there. I moved there to be in the suburbs, not near condominiums, not near apartments. I expected the other neighbors to have like-sized lots and kids and activities going on. So with that said, let's do some Michigan State math. Let's see, I've heard 54 homes, 55 homes, 71 homes, 91, 161. Well, let's just do some math on traffic. Let's see, 55 homes, what'd they say, 10 trips a day for people with kids? Is that 550? Versus 161 homes with 5 trips? Isn't that 800? Isn't that 250 more trips somewhere with the traffic, right? Taxes, you said $800,000 homes? $12,000 average taxes? That's a little more than the 1.4 million tax revenue. Don't know how that math works out. If you do that, they're paying about $8,000 in taxes. Sign me up, baby. Right?
All right.
How have our taxes gone?
Can we just try to keep this civil here, please?
Yep, I'm just simple
Thank
math.
you.
Run through the math they gave me. I can't follow it. I'm just simple Michigan State math. Round stuff up, do the numbers in your head, and I'm like, doesn't add up. Traffic, taxes, and I am concerned about school levies. We have the best school system, the best sports programs. We're always in the state championships. We always have kids academically are high. I want that to be my kid. I want him to have the opportunity. I want the levies to pass. I don't want my house to burn down. I drive an EV. I want the fire department to show up quick if I have a fire. All right? I'm going to pass the levy. All right?
My name's Kate.
All right, we'll have 2 more. Looks like there's 2 more speakers. 3? Where's the 3rd? Okay. 3, because I want to cut it off in like the next 5-10 minutes, okay?
My name's Kate Naveau. I live at 2937 Pebble Drive. I have 2 quick statements. I appreciate, Dan, that you're saying, I live on Pebble Drive, so I'm right at that south line. And I appreciate that you're thinking of a lot of my neighbors by putting green space, but you're not thinking of me, the Casals, Lisa and Paul next door. We are right at the corner where those 8 diagonal ones are, right by the pond. So while my neighbors might get some green space, I don't. So I don't understand why you're picking and choosing which people get green space and which don't. Number 2, you're talking about that light. But that light's going to be insignificant until you change the light at Hollenbach on Old State. Is there a plan for a light there? Because right now, there's not even a roundabout.
That's the county story.
Yeah, that's a county issue.
A little higher. Good evening. Vince Soul, 5310 Sandy Drive. I am going to share something new. I am probably one of the newest members of this community. I've been here for 15 months and 10 days. I don't know about anything prior to that, but what I can tell you is what I envision for my kids is what I did when I was a child. I rode my bike. We played outside. We had snowball fights from one house to the other. We hit cars on accident. I saw that when I drove through this neighborhood 16 months ago. I didn't spy on you guys, but I did. I saw that. I saw families walking their dogs, kids riding their bikes, families in golf carts, which I am envious of. I walk my daughters. I have 2 daughters, and many of you have seen them. Savannah and Naomi, 3 and 1. And I have a double wide stroller. Savannah begs to get out of the stroller every time to walk. I say no. Why? You've heard it. We don't have sidewalks. I don't have to say it again. But as we get to the end of the driveway and we approach the garage, she sees her bike in the garage with her helmet. Dad, I want to ride my bike. I ignore it. Why? There's no way in hell she's riding that bike on that damn street. I have to be on the swivel when I walk, myself. It's ridiculous. You mentioned 5 years. My kids will be 6. It may not be a concern for some of these people. It may not be a concern for you. It's still a concern for me. I think we need to understand that. We're putting a lot of things to the side for other things. I'm in sales. I know what a bait and switch is. I'm very good at it. That's what we do. We tell people things. We build them up. We find a way to bridge from what was missing to what is needed. We hit their soft spots, right? Here's what our plan is, but it changes. We need to sit back and really think about this. We really do. Have you ridden a bike before? I'm sure you have. I would love my kids to do the same.
Last one.
One more after me. He's back there. Eric Custodio, 5277 Meadowbend Drive. Very fast. As you've all heard, we don't have sidewalks. The other thing you have not heard, we don't have street lights either. So in the middle of the streets, it's very dark right now. We still have people walking their dogs, walking in the street, and however much you want to say that people won't cut through there, they absolutely will. So at the very least, I don't agree with increasing it up to 161. Stay with what the original was, but at the very least, can we not connect Rock Road? And if you guys, since you guys are meeting and say it's a county thing, can we have that county information so we can go there and say, do not connect Rock Road here? Absolutely. Thank you.
This is definitely the local city of Kingston.
Okay.
Jared Tolanoski, 2940 Pebble Drive. Couple things. One of them was, you talk about the light. You want us to go fight for it. Well, the county's making you put a stop light in because they've already predicted how much more traffic's coming. If not, they would just let us do a stop sign, like every place down there. They're making you put a light because they already predicted the amount of traffic it's going to create. You say there's not going to be more traffic. County already knows there is. That's why they're forcing you to put a light. I know you tried to dodge that, but also seems like a money grab to me. I mean, because all these more houses, I mean, we live in the best school district. Olentangy is the best school district. Everybody wants to come here. So why not let's pack more people in a smaller spot so we can make way more money? Not thinking about what that's going to do to the school district that's already overcrowded. I mean, we're barely hanging on. I mean, Olentangy School is at the brink. And we're going to add this many more. They could say they're only going to be 55 or plus, but they can't. They've already told us that's not a requirement. A 21-year-old can buy that. If he got the money, he's going to have 4 kids. They're going to that school. If they can tell us it's only 55, well, so what? Okay, a 55-year-old buys it, brings in their daughter that has 4 kids. You can't predict that, and I don't think they're predicting either, but they're trying to hide that from us. That's pretty much all I gotta say, but the stoplight thing, you want us to go fight it? We can't win that fight, and you can't win that fight either. The county has already predicted it.
Yes, excellent point.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Does the commission have any questions, comments? Any
Madam,
thoughts that they would?
I would just like to kind of give some generalities to some of the questions. First of all, I want to thank all the residents for coming out. We do truly appreciate hearing you. I mean, I know EPCON communities, they want to be a good neighbor. They don't want to be, they're going to be your neighbor for the foreseeable future, assuming that the rest of tonight goes well. I want to speak a little bit about, there was a couple questions about drainage, and there have been multiple comments about traffic and the Rock Drive extension. There's currently an approved traffic impact study with Delaware County. It was approved in 2016 that has warrants for different improvements for Evans Farm. One of those warrants is a traffic signal at this connection to South Old State, and is warranted when our connection is made. The timing of the county turning on the light, that is completely up to the county. And in terms of the Rock Drive extension, it was always intended for Rock Drive to be connected to what was previously Street B and now English Drive. And if you look on the recorded subdivision plat for Bryn Mawr, it states that Rock Drive will be extended as a public road in the future. So whether we make the connection or the county makes the connection in the future, it will be most likely, it's all with the approved site plan and density of the entire Evans Farm. There have been comments about density, and I appreciate the concern. I understand it. It looks like a significant increase in density, but the overall Evans Farm did not change in density, and the traffic impact study still takes into account for this amount of units going to South Old State. And then in terms of the drainage, all of the drainage will be, we will coordinate with the county engineer and the Ohio EPA for all of their regulations, and that includes that detention pond on the southeast corner, which will alleviate, I would hope it would alleviate any concerns that you have currently. And with that being said, I understand having a detention pond near your property line can be concerning there is construction requirements for those basin ponds that require liners and different things that the groundwater will not infiltrate towards your property. Is contained within the pond is a retention pond, not a detention pond. I know it sounds the same, but there's a very small clarification, and it will be outletting directly to the storm sewer on South Old State, so it will no longer be conveying overland through the Bryn Mawr community. I think. Oh, and then the last was street width and parking. English Drive street widths it's all based on county approved standard drawings, and there will be no parking on English Drive. Within the private community, each unit has 4 private parking spaces, 2 within the garage, 2 in the driveway, and the private roads all allow parking on one side of the streets that's opposite of the fire hydrants. So again, thank you for everyone coming out today. I hope some of that was clarified by what I just said. Thank you, Commission, for your time tonight. If you guys have any further questions, we're happy to talk.
Okay.
Sounds good, thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, I'd like to also address you.
Okay,
Tom
name-
Hart.
oh,
Yeah,
thank you.
Sorry. Tom Hart, my address is 5029 Cemetery Road. I do represent EPCON Communities, and I'm their zoning attorney. A couple, yeah. Oh, I have no problem using a louder voice for those who know me. A couple points just to clarify. First, this is not a rezoning. Okay, we had some folks early get up and talk about zoning standards, code standards. We're under the existing Evans PUD text or PRD text that was approved. We are asking to adjust that text by moving density to a different area, but there's no net density change. So, we're not violating any density standards of the code or really anything in the code. We live by the Evans text that's approved for the whole Evans community. It's very important for us, and I've been active in the township for going on a quarter century, and have been somewhat involved in some past EPCON communities. I think we have about 6 or 7 in Orange Township. I don't know the exact number. Kelly has all the names of those communities. You can see them in the real world. It's a demonstrable fact. They live quieter. They have less people per unit, less occupancy. Their student yields in terms of children, and we can bring that evidence in, it's exactly what Kelly documented tonight, but we can bring it for Liberty, we can bring it for Dublin, we can bring it for Hilliard. Our EPCON communities pay a lot more in property taxes than the children they produce and what it costs to educate those children. And by the way, our residents don't vote against levies. I mean, they understand property values depend on the quality of the school district, which is very high here. And to say EPCON residents vote against levies is not accurate. Some do, most don't. I think the key thing we want to come across tonight, though, is we're not here to harm people, okay? We presented a site plan, Kelly did, because we believe it's better. It moves lots away from the perimeter. It moves lots away from existing lots. It provides open space buffers in those areas and vegetative buffers. It's better than the existing plan, and that existing plan is approved. I mean, those 91 units could be built today. Again, 91 single-family conventional houses produce more traffic, 10 trips per day, versus EPCON would be about 5. So the arguments about traffic, the concern about not having sidewalks, there would be more traffic with a single family if it's built as it's approved today. We're trying to change that, have less traffic, less intensity. EPCON communities live quieter in the real world. There's not a whole lot going on in our open spaces besides the designated areas. By the way, our pickleball is well bunkered by units. I don't think the sound's going to travel real readily to other areas if you look at the site plan. But the key here is that they're not here to do harm. We don't believe that an average house price of $635,000 will harm someone's property value near it. Again, I've been doing this for a while. I have never seen a market study that says 635 housing is going to harm 400 or 300 or 500 or 700 or 800. $635,000 housing, that price point's available today in the market to buy a 4-bedroom, 2.5 bath home around that price point. And if a family wants to move into this area for the school district, they could buy that house and not an empty nester house that has bedrooms downstairs, that has amenities set up for 55 plus, that is designed for an older demographic, not a family. We don't have soccer space, we have pickleball. We don't have basketball courts, we have bocce. We have a design internally that is not readily something a family wants in the market. And so when you look at EPCON's, the number of families and kids they have, it's because of the design. It's not because it's age restricted, it's because it's built, just frankly, the dues they pay, so they don't maintain their own outside of their house or the grounds. They pay a hefty amount of dues per month to take care of that. Most single-family residents are not going to be paying the dues structure of an EPCON community. There's an economic and a design choice that's made by those buyers to buy that home. And again, man, I'm sure you've seen us do this before. We can bring the evidence that shows really throughout all of Central Ohio that they don't have kids and they don't have nuclear families. That is a big part of the traffic argument that we will, and again, It's the traffic study and the traffic engineers and the county engineers that regulate traffic that come up with this data that shows what senior housing and empty nesters produce versus traditional single-family, conventional single-family. Again, that's why we think this is better. It's lowering the intensity, lowering the number of people per unit.
You don't live here.
No, that's true.
Can we please be civil?
One other point that I'll close and just make is that the street parking, our site's restricted to parking on one side, but each unit has 4 parking spaces on the driveway and in the garages. So, yes.
That is.
Well, the question was asked
standard.
about.
Most subdivisions have 4 parking spots, 2 in the garage and at least 2 in your driveway. So that is almost a standard throughout the township. So can we please be civil and let Mr. Hart make his concluding remarks?
We're just making our point heard. We're the residents. He made it heard. Right? And these guys are business people. That's why we're here.
Yeah, I answered that because the point was about holidays and events and things like that. We think the parking on one side and the 4 per unit's adequate to handle, those situations. I'll stop there. As Kelly said, our team's here to answer any questions the commission may have. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Dennis, do you have any
No.
statements, comments to make?
No.
Les?
Yeah, just the only comment I have is just a little confused between some in the community, and just be honest with you, what I don't appreciate about the project. I like the project. I like everything you said with respect to the buildings and all of that stuff. What is aggravating me tremendously is which I think there's even division in the community with respect to families. Some don't want families, some want families. Sure, some don't want families, some want families, and then you all continuously kind of lean in on this, we're gonna break it down to just a few people and there won't be any kids there. I mean, I'm an advocate of families, and I hear the gentleman talking about his kids and all of that stuff. So it bothers me that you keep focusing in on this family story. And it has nothing to do with zoning, the truth be told, but it's still something that's just kind of, I think it's unnecessary, and you don't have to do the marketing pitch with us. Certainly you've done that with the folks here. Certainly there's a expectation here that this is already previously approved, you're just moving stuff around. But that, to me, because of that fact, knowing that that's true, there's no need to talk about we're going to add more money to you. Everything's not about money, right? So it's not that we're going to add more money to you. I don't care if you sell your house for $1 million or for $600,000 or $200,000. At the end of the day, speaking of families and supporting that, then just let that rest where it is. I asked my question about the 55 because you said that's what you targeted, but you said, okay, anybody can move in. I'm okay with that, but not for sure why you keep driving home that point. That's my only point with respect to that, and that's where we are. So.
I have no other comments. Me neither.
Okay. I have a few, because I know we've had a lot of members of the community speak out. Street widths are pretty much public roads. They're dictated by the county. The traffic study and the traffic lights, again, dictated by the county. We already know, for those of us who live in the community and who live off of Old State, yes, it's congested. We're all hoping that the county recognizes that and relieves the traffic. But the density of the overall project is not changing, so we're still gonna have the same amount of people on the road. We have no control over Berlin Township or areas north of us that are also putting stress on the road. Drainage, again, that's with the county engineer. Generally, when the county engineer gets involved, a lot of drainage problems are resolved. A lot of Old State or areas along Old State have been designed before, from maybe the 60s, 70s, and 80s, now where they're relooking at that. So that should be repaired by the county engineer. The Ohio EPA and the Army Corps is in charge of wetlands and drainage permits and anything that might affect wetlands or runoff like that. because I too have been very concerned about the wetlands and water runoff either into Alum Creek or into the Olentangy. My one concern is, and I'll be honest, that you had originally talked about in this area having the lot sizes be closer to the ones in the surrounding area. And I remember that from way back when, 9-10 years ago. I understand, you know, you have no control over the county telling you that we don't want driveways along, you know, various streets. But my concern I do have is with the 8 lots, I think it's 64 to 70 or down in, I want to say the south, thank you, east corner. Yeah, whatever those lots are that are, keep going, right there, that they're very close to the neighboring property. And they really don't have a buffer. If they were the, you know, you could have a house much closer than previously planned in that area. Is there anything you could do to help? And I believe Robin also brought up the comment, could you reduce the number of units and maybe not have as many down there, have more buffering? I think that would help with some of the concerns in the neighborhood and the lot issue or the lot line issues with the neighboring lots. So that would be my one sort of concern is, you know, it was going to be planned something different. We are going to have a little more density in this area. Is there anything you could do to alleviate the neighboring, especially in this area down here? That was also a comment by Planning and Zoning Department here. So, sorry. Did everybody hear me? My voice is going.
That's my backyard, right where you're talking.
Mm-hmm.
Are those, what are those units? Are they condos? Are they duplexes or they townhomes?
They're single-family side courtyard homes. So the courtyard, we can pull up, Eric, if you could maybe pull up, that's okay, Eric, don't worry about it, it's okay.
Okay.
They were supposed to, like everybody had said, they were supposed to be comparable to my property line. My whole backyard, when it rains, it floods. I'm right on that sewer line. I have all those concerns that everybody said. I'm Lisa Ledke, by the way, 2945 Pebble Drive, just for the record, because everyone wants to know that I oppose this. Like, that is not okay for me. And I know the light at on the street is county, but what do you think is gonna happen when that light goes in? I'm not gonna be able to get out of Bryn Mawr. It's gonna back that traffic all the way up for me to make a left-hand turn to take my daughter to Arrowhead Elementary. Right, it's already an issue. So I don't know if we in the county, we need to contact, but I think we need to fight that as well. But that's my problem, biggest problem, is that's my backyard. I need the water is an issue. I want the single family home that matches my property. That's why I moved into that neighborhood. And why is this okay? Why did it change?
Okay,
Can we hear a response? Because yes, we understand your concerns. You know, and that's why I asked the question, because I understand, you know, the lots and what was initially discussed 10 years ago, but we have no control over what the county demands. So
okay, let's let her speak. And
if the applicant can try to address some of these concerns, and then as a commission, we can move forward.
I will reiterate what Tyler said earlier this evening, that just a little bit ago, that I appreciate all of your comments here as well. We aren't the master developer of Evans Farm. We are a sub-developer of Evans Farm. We are coming in after 10 years of plans being made to add a community that serves the population, a 55-plus population of, this is what we do. I'm stating the facts. This is what we've done for 40 years. We serve an active adult and empty nester. That is our main focus. We don't restrict all of our communities. Some of them are restricted, some are not. The This will not be a restricted community. So I would, it is an age-targeted, designed community. We design homes around what a typical empty nester, which is typically somebody over 55, would like. That's what we've done for 40 years. I'm not being dishonest, I'm sharing what we have done.
Can we address sort of the density issue in that corner?
Yes, thank you. What we can do with that section is we could shift those lots to I believe we have room, we could shift those lots closer to South Old State to create more space from lot 64 and 65 to the south in the Bryn Mawr parcels. And another possibility would be that we would remove 2 of those lots on the far west side. Well, I was just asked how we can create more of a buffer from the closest points to the property lines to the south. And that's how we could achieve more space between the back of our homes, the back of the lot, really, to the existing Bryn Mawr parcels.
Okay. So the question is, you can reduce the number but not get rid of them completely. Is that what I'm hearing? Or is this something that, as much as I don't like continuing, is this something that you could redraft and come back, or do you want us to vote tonight, or do you want a continuance?
We'd like a vote tonight.
Well, I'm asking that of the applicant, because it's their decision, either to vote tonight, or if you can revise and try to address some of the concerns, or if you think that it's not doable and you want to vote.
I think we need, Jason, come on up.
We'll all just keep coming back.
That's smart. I mean, that's smart.
Yeah, we'll welcome you back.
I mean, our goal is to be a good neighbor to all of you. Like, we are not, we.
No, we're just gonna, so it's, if you can address some of the issues, we can come back, or we can vote now.
Yeah, Jason Coffey, Epcon Communities.
Okay.
Been an observer tonight. Obviously, we got a lot of feedback. Got a lot of feedback tonight that we need to take into consideration, and we would like to table this. We have some things we need to think about. We can make some improvements. We do really like the site. We think it's good for us, good for the township, the schools, but we do have some work to do with the neighbors.
Yep.
And we want to take that opportunity to do that.
Okay.
Okay, so, so the best thing I could direct you is, Robin, I hate to put you in the hot seat. Robin is our planning and zoning director, and so he has on file in his office the existing zoning for this site. And this is an amendment to that zoning. So if you have any questions, he can sort of get you that information.
So can you post it, or do you want us to all show up at your office?
Yeah, so this gentleman is correct. It is on our website. We have a Google Drive where all of our zoning applications are posted, so they're available for viewing for the public. If you want to grab my card on the way out, feel free to send me an email, give me a phone call, whatever works for you. I'm happy to meet individually. Again, I can give you documents if you want to come here and pick them up. We can print them off for you, whatever you need.
So we will, my goal is, before we leave this meeting, we will have a date established for the next one. So my next question would be is, Robin, Eric, what's on the calendar, and our applicant, EPCON, when do you think you could have some of this commentary put into your next proposal?
And Kelly, Tom, if you, so the options are, we can continue to time, date, place certain, or you can table to an indefinite date, and then we will renotice.
Mhm. And then if it's an indefinite, then we would have to do a public, post a public notice.
Will we also get letters like we did this time?
So Robin can best address that, because we get letters, go within a certain distance from the site. You can also subscribe to Orange Township zoning and get all the emails and things like that.
And I'd like to say my telephone number. I'm a developer. I want to also be involved in this process, right? So my telephone number is 614-582-5173. Please call me. I'm going to be working with the builder. I'm going to be working with you guys. I think we can address a lot of these concerns. There's some confusion that I think we all
December
gotta
10th.
keep on, and I do want to take a representative of your group, a couple of them, to business to the county to talk to them about that connection. It's something we talk about, before, we talk about what the trail there. And so, 614-582-5173. Dan Church.
Okay, so the applicant, do you have a date in mind, or do you want just to table it and determine it at a future date?
Hey, can I see why they changed from 91 to 161?
Because they couldn't have the alley and they couldn't have the driveway.
Oh, yeah.
Tuesday's
I mean, that screwed everything.
Mr. Wallace,
Okay, listen up.
so our suggested date for the next continuation would be Tuesday, December 10th, here in this room at 6:30 p.m. If everybody wants to, on the sign-in sheets over there, if you didn't sign in on the way in, please put your email address, and we can send out an email with those meeting details as well.
Yeah, so, members of the commission, I would like, I'm assuming you all have that available, Tuesday, December 10th, 6.
So my preference is December the 3rd, but,
We already have one on the 3rd.
do we?
Yes. We have one on the 3rd.
You'll be out of the country on December the 3rd?
You'll be out of the country. When will you?
To December the 30th.
To December 30th.
To December 30th.
So, December 30th, you're not here. So, I mean,
What about you?
December 10th.
You're good?
I think on the,
Robin, can you?
for some reason, I think on the 10th, I am out.
Okay, so it looks like I would highly recommend that we have a full commission for the next hearing.
Yes.
For obvious reasons. If we only have 3, that is barely a quorum, but I do feel strongly that we should have the majority 5 hearing this. I don't know if we want the applicant to also. I would highly recommend.
Can we move it to January?
Okay, all right. We're gonna have a slight recess.
Just for a few minutes. Where were we? Oh, I guess.
are returning from recess. Can I have a motion from the commission to continue this meeting to January 7th, Tuesday, January 7th, 2025 at 6:30 PM?
So moved.
Motion moved. Motion to have this meeting on January 7th continued.
So the motion was made to continue this hearing to January 7th, that is Tuesday, January 7th, here in this room at 6:30 PM. Seconded by Mr. Pierce. Those voting, Mr. McNulty?
Yes.
Mr. Bellis?
Yes.
Mr. Pierce?
Yes.
Mr. Beer? Yes. Mr. Avadanula?
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right. So, the 7th of January, all right? 6:30 in this room. All right? I am going to call this meeting adjourned. Thank you.